Good morning, everybody. Hope you don't mind, but I thought it'd be easy to send a video explaining where the school's at with regard to homeschooling during these difficult times. I hope you're keeping well, you're keeping your children safe and well. We're missing you. We met as a staff yesterday through Zoom. There were 75 of us, I think, all online talking through. And the theme that kept coming through from everybody is that we're missing the children and we're looking forward to normality resuming. What's difficult is we don't know how long this is going to last for. I know in the press today they've talked about another 3 weeks, but then if that happens, we don't know, and I don't think it will, then we don't know what the fourth week will look like. We don't know if we're going to be homeschooling until September. One of the things that came up last night through this staff meeting is an importance for closure. So if this goes on until September, children come back in September, we will try to bring year 6 back so that we can say goodbye to them, and we'll come up with some kind of plan that maybe extends the learning from this term into next term so that we can pick up on some of the gaps. When all of this happened, obviously it was a really difficult time. It was certainly a difficult time for you guys, a difficult time for us. I think most importantly, I must say, it's a difficult time for those who are suffering through the virus. And that's the most important thing. My heart and my thoughts and my prayers go out to those people. And that's why these measures have been put in place. When I look at it from a school's perspective, that week, so it's the week before Easter, and actually the week before that, when numbers started to understandably dwindle, they were difficult times. As a school, we had very little time to come up with plans. Now, I'm not being political, I don't mind that. I think the government had to come up with an emergency plan quite quickly, and therefore the communication to us very often was last minute. I think what we did at that time was the right thing. So I think setting these tasks through Dojo at that time was an emergency plan, and it was the right thing going forward. Now that we've reviewed it, we want to amend that plan. We want to amend schooling going forward. And I'll come on to that a little bit later. You'll see behind me the theme for this year. So Team KR, being mad, excellence without compromise, all of those things still are relevant going forward, but this is the theme that we're really dwelling on, which is being you, being us, which is about the children and you and the staff and me accepting who we are, accepting each other, and bringing that wonderful individuality into the wider team. Well, during Easter, I've put a lot of thought into how I can extend the Boo Boo theme to match schooling going forward. And that's how we've come up with this phrase of be healthy. I think when you look at the 3 words here, that reflects one of the strategies we had as a school going forward, which is about well-being. And these are the 3 areas of well-being that we were trying to address. Well, if anything, they've become bigger problems during this lockdown. And that's why I really, really want you and want us to focus on these for the benefit of the children, for the benefit of them right now, but the benefit of them also when they come back to school, so that they're in a healthy place. I guess starting at the top, what I want to talk about is social health. And during this time of lockdown, how important it is to facilitate socially healthy lifestyles. So it's important for families to talk to each other. And by that, I mean families that maybe not be dwelling in the same house. And I don't mean going to go and visit them, because that's against the guidance from the government. What I mean is through FaceTiming and phone calls and all of those kind of things. And importantly, children to talk to, friends during this period. Now, they might not be telling you this, but for lots of them, this will be massive for them. Some will share with you, some will keep it to themselves, because that's individually how they deal with it. But as adults, I think we should facilitate mechanisms to develop and help their social health going forward. So please consider that, as well as you. All of these 6 phrases relate to you, relate to me, relate to the staff as well. And in yesterday's staff meeting, we talked through these and what it means for us. So please look after yourself at these times. What I will say at this point is how important it is that we keep the children safe online. I fear, and I have no evidence for this, that lots of undesirable and unpleasant people will be using social gaming platforms to maybe groom children or get to know children. Please keep an eye on them. Don't just give them free rein to put themselves at risk and maybe give out details or images or whatever to people that they do not know. Excuse me. Physical health is really important. I find it difficult, I suppose, when I'm in, not to snack, not to eat more unhealthily. And generally, I tend to be out quite a lot of the time playing sport in the evenings, but now at the moment, I can't do that. But as an adult, and a reasonably sensible adult, I'm super aware of that, and I'm putting measures in place to make sure that I eat properly and I maintain an active lifestyle. And I do mean, if you're able to go for this walk each day, maintaining social distance from other people. I know some people are not able to do that because they're keeping themselves in their homes at this time. But you can exercise in your home. And for this reason, I want to signpost Joe Wicks to you. Now, I've talked before about habits, and habits and routine are really important during this period. And that includes exercise. So Joe Wicks on YouTube does a thing at 9 o'clock every day. Now, we are going to insist as a school that every child does either Joe Wicks or a suitable alternative beyond walking every day. We think this is really important. So in addition to eating well and not eating junk food and chocolates and comfort food, eating decent food that will maintain a healthy lifestyle, also maintaining an actively healthy lifestyle. The other thing I want to talk about is emotional health. I think I'm going to start here with your emotional health. Your mental health is absolutely critical. If you are not in a good place, it is harder for you to have children to be in a good place. So look after yourself. And again, I come back to routines and habits and all of those kind of things. There's a danger that we all become more slovenly, less active during this time, and become lazier. And we have to be careful of that, have to be mindful of that for you personally, but also for your children. By eating well, by being socially healthy, by being physically healthy, it's more likely that they will be mentally healthy, and that's the same for you. But actually, we've got to listen to each other. We have to listen to our children. Give them space to talk. Allow them to be unhappy at times, or angry at times, or sad at times, or happy at times, or whatever. All of those emotions are okay. What necessarily isn't okay is how you deal with those emotions. So if you're feeling angry, going to whack somebody is the wrong way to deal with that. But actually, keeping it to yourself is also the wrong way to deal with that. So it's important that you talk to your children and give them that space. Now, when it comes to the learning from home, the 3 words are precise, and I've put a lot of thought into these. In actual fact, we could have 1,000 words there. So when it comes to learning at home, we want the children to be creative, to do the task in a creative manner. We're going to change the focus of the learning to activity setting rather than through teaching, which I'll explain why later. I know some might not agree with that, but this is where we're coming from as a school. So through this learning through activity setting, encourage the children to be creative, to take these tasks and make them their own, to fulfill the objective of the task, but in their mind, do it different to and better than everyone else. Because this is a skill that can be developed. It's an opportunity to develop this skill. We want them to be resilient learners. It's important that during this time we don't just quit like that. That's you as adults, that's me as a head, that's the teachers as teachers, and that's the children as learners, and we're all learners. It's really important that they have the determination and the perseverance to be resilient and not quit. Not quit when they're bored, not quit when things are getting hard for them, that they push on through and be resilient. And finally, diligence. So diligence is linked to independence in this situation, that we think it's really important that an independent skill of diligence is developed during this period. And that needs you as an adult to help them be that. I'm not saying don't take 5-minute breaks when things have got too much for them. That's okay, take that 5-minute break, but go back to it. Be learners. We don't want to come back in September and the children to have gone back 2 years. When we come back in September or May or June or tomorrow, whenever it will be, we want the children to be ready. So we know there's going to be some stuff that we're going to have to pick up on, but we don't fall back behind too much. What we know through Dojo is some families are really signed up to this learning from home, but we suspect through lack of engagement that some are not. And my fear is that some children are not learning from home who are not reading, not practicing their writing, not practicing their mental arithmetic, who are not being active, who are not eating well, and that is just a nightmare. We can't have that happen. We can't do anything about the past, but we can from now going forward. I very quickly want to explain our thought process. So schools have different views on this, and I put a lot of thought into it. I have asked the teachers to move away from through learning through remote teaching. By that I mean a teacher standing in front of a screen and teaching maybe how to do formal addition. And the reason I am against that is I think there's a danger of misconceptions going into the children. I also think there's a danger of children who are struggling not being supported effectively because we can't give decent feedback. We're not listening to what they're learning. We're not listening to the mistakes that they potentially are making. And the danger is that those mistakes just get bigger. The other danger, particularly with maths, is that we've all done maths a different way. And the danger is, as a parent and as a caring parent, you say to your child, don't do it that way. This is how I did it in school. And the problem with that is that then when we come back, whenever it is, not only do we have to fill the gaps, we have to correct misunderstandings and ways that children have done it, and actually coming back to the way that we're teaching it now. I also worry about self-esteem of children. So if there's a teacher stood in front of the screen teaching the child a concept and the child doesn't understand it, whether they tell you or they don't tell you, the danger is their self-esteem just goes lower and lower. We can't differentiate the learning as effectively because we're not there to address the individual issues that the children have. We can't challenge the children the same way, so we can't see if the children have really understood this concept and moved them forward. And that, in a nutshell, it's much wider than that. It's why I'm pushing towards learning through activity setting. And then that comes back to being creative, being resilient, and being diligent. So persevering and coming up with these tasks differently. And actually, to learn through activity setting, then we've got to think about the activities that we are setting and make them purposeful and linked to the values of Be Healthy. So to add more detail to that, I guess I feel that the tasks that we were setting were too lengthy, and we've listened to what you've said. We also feel that for those with more than one child, asking them to focus on one child, then it takes up all day. And you know, learning should be fun, and we don't want to turn children off learning during this time. We also don't want to affect your relationship with your children, children's relationship with you, through having to be authoritative and bossy and showing them how to do these things and making them do these things. We think there's an opportunity for wider learning and wider development of values such as creativity, resilience and diligence, doing other things as well, at the same time as getting the balance right with regard to children's understanding of English and maths and all of the other subject areas. So that's why from Monday I have asked the teachers to make sure they set short English tasks each day, around 15 minutes. And I'd like the English tasks to specifically be vocabulary, speaking and listening, and reading. Now, of course, reading and speaking and listening you can do anytime. Our wonderful school, one of the reasons it's so wonderful is because we have children from so many backgrounds. I think 96% of our brilliant children come from ethnic backgrounds, which are their heritage at some point is from ethnic background, which is brilliant because they bring so much more to Team KR. At the last count, I think 82% of our children were deemed as having English as an additional language. Now that's quite a wide spectrum. So the definition of that includes children who are actually quite fluent, all the way to children who can't speak English at all. Now that comes with a problem. I've talked about this many times, that when it comes to our testing, which we will come back to because the government will announce that when we come back for next academic year, I can't afford our children to be back more than the time they've been off school. And that's why I've asked teachers to set language tasks, not grammar tasks, language tasks. And speaking and language tasks, speaking and listening tasks, should I say. And I think it's important for your language that you talk to the children in English, that you encourage the children to talk in English, as well as if your native language isn't English, that language is addressed as well. I think that's really important, that it's a celebration of everybody's heritage. But we can't afford children to come back to school when they come back to school having not been speaking English at all. And therefore, it's really important that they do converse with each other, with you, with whomever at home in English regularly. I think that's really important. When it comes to maths, again, I've asked for no more than 15 minutes to be set. And I'm moving away from technical teaching. So that's teaching such as, here's how we're going to do subtraction using the formal methods. We'll pick up on that when the children come back. And I've got a plan how I'm going to do that. So I talked earlier about extending the learning from the school year into next academic year. But it's really important that children keep up with their mental arithmetic. For younger children, they're counting, they're missing numbers when they're counting forwards, backwards, over numbers and around numbers such as 100, 1,000, 10,000, a million, negative numbers. I think I've said times tables, mental arithmetic, 47, add 63 times by 2. All of those kind of questions to keep that snapping. And the other thing which links to creativity, resilience and diligence is setting of tasks that are problem solving. Not quitting when you can't do the problem, persevering. And if at the end of the day you can't do the problem, that's okay. That's how we learn. We learn through not doing things as much as we learn through being able to do things well. I've asked the teachers, where possible, to continue focusing on the topics that should have been taught this term, but we will continue it next term as well. So if they were learning Romans, I still want Romans to be taught. And I think it's really important we address the wider curricula. Design, technology, art, music, I know you don't have instruments, but music and history and geography, so on and so forth, so that these subjects are still being learned at home. Now, I've asked the teachers to signpost towards information sharing sessions. So on YouTube, there's loads of like history classes or geography classes, and when they're relevant, I want them to be signposted to you so that you can ask your children to watch these things as well. Don't spend all holiday watching cartoons or, and I can't think of a single name of I want to say Flintstones, but I know we've moved on from the Flintstones. Oh gosh, Gravity Falls, that's what my children watch. Can't spend the whole time doing that. And the danger is, if you leave them to their own devices, they're going to do that and spend the time doing this. Doing information stuff as well. Now, for those who want more, again, the teachers will signpost supplementary activities for you. And that will be things such as Times Tables Rockstars, Education City, and other things. I've talked about an expectation for physical exercise every day. Now, I want to just talk about this a little bit more. So, I've talked about Joe Wicks. So, the expectation for every child at Kings Road is that they do at least 30 minutes exercise every day. And for most of you, it'll be through Joe Wicks. There's a resource there that's easily accessible, that's on the internet, job done, go for that. However, I know some won't want to do Joe Wicks, as long as it's physically challenging exercise, which links to resilience, perseverance, pushing on even when you're tired, then that's okay, as long as the children are doing something. And as I said before, more than walking. Walking isn't intense enough. There needs to be exercise every day. The other change we're going to make from Monday is the work will be set in advance on a Monday morning. So you will have the week's learning on a Monday morning, and you still can communicate reasonably with parents, with teachers, should I say, to gain guidance, and then you can plan that week going forward, and that's us listening to what you have said. Now, for some children, so some children have a one-to-one teacher assistant assigned to them. That teacher assistant will phone the parents of those children on a Tuesday. And then on the Monday, I've asked those TAs to adapt the work and also to consider the objectives on their IEPs so that they can advise the parents how they can be met going forward. Similarly, those children and families who have very limited English, somebody will be phoning them on a Tuesday morning as well. Now, it may be that you need more support. Can you talk to your teacher through Class Dojo about that, please? I put this up because this is the sheet that you will get on a Monday morning. It might be rubbish, but we want to give it a try and see what it looks like. And if we don't like it, then we'll change it going forward. The next slide is my penultimate slide. It's about communication. So I know some people don't like Zoom, and there's other ways for you to communicate, but I want to trial on a Monday, and that's starting this Monday at 4 o'clock, a Zoom meeting for any parents, and it can be as many as up to 100, can come and remotely meet with me through Mr. Morgan's virtual tea party. And you might ask, what's the rationale behind, why have you done this? I don't quite agree with it. Or it might be positive stuff, we think that's great. Or it might be questions. And it might be stuff that I have not considered. So that Zoom remote virtual tea party is the opportunity, or one opportunity for you to do that. So that will be 4 o'clock on Monday, and the code is there, and I'll send the code through Class Dojo, 781 308 3612. So download Zoom, go on the internet, you can do it that way, and then you can contact me that way, and I'll be online, I'll say for an hour. So I'll be online 4 till 5 on Mondays, and other members of staff will appear at some point as well, so hopefully members of the senior leadership team and other key members of staff. This is my last slide. So on this slide, I want to signpost that we've updated the safeguarding policy on the website, and that's just to include coronavirus and what safeguarding looks like during this phase. If you have any concerns, there are lots of ways you can contact school. Class Dojo, through the Zoom tea party that I'll be holding on Mondays, but you can also contact the school through the comments clicker button on the home page of the website. Now, these are really challenging times for lots of families, and where adults are in the same room with each other, it can be challenging. And I want to give opportunity, should anybody be in a situation where you can keep yourself more safe, and you can tell us. And therefore, I've put 2 mechanisms that you can do that. Did you know that if you are suffering from domestic violence, you can phone 999 and not speak? And if you press 55 on your phone at that point, then they'll be able to find out where you are. The other way is you could use the comments clicker button, which I've said on the website, and that sends an email that comes directly to me, and I can do what I can. However, if you use that mechanism, you must put down your name, so that because otherwise it doesn't tell me who it is that I'm trying to help. And the last thing I'll say is Trafford Safeguarding is still open for business, of course. And if you have a concern, a safeguarding concern, you can contact me, and I'd urge you to do that. But if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, you can go directly to something called First Response at Trafford. And the number for First Response is 912 5125. I'm sorry this video has gone on for so long. I just felt there was a lot of information that I needed to share with you. We'll try and get some of the highlights of this transcribed, and we'll put that on Dojo, and then that can be translated using the Dojo mechanism into the languages that Dojo allows it to do so. So that just leaves me to wish you the very best. Keep in touch. We miss you, and we can't wait, all of us can't wait for normality to resume for lots of reasons.